way from Brooklyn, football with the fellas. It's all about Big Blue, and you know what time it is. It is Mock Draft Monday time. So now there is an entire season in the books. Shout out to the Seattle Seahawks for winning the Super Bowl, and Sam Darnold and that storyline with our neighbors, the Jets, and their history. Our own former Giants, Leonard Williams, Julian Love. I mean, there were Giants on both sides, right? Uh, we were going to get a next Giant with the Super Bowl ring, whichever team won. Tommy DeVito was the backup quarterback for the Patriots. But in any event, season's over. So our season has officially begun now. Our off season, which is really our season, has officially begun. So these mock draft Mondays are going to start to take on, I guess, a little bit more substance. So I'm going to try something different this time. Before I go any further, if you are, like I am, obsessed with the Giants offseason, please grab that like button. Please subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. All right, got that business out of the way. So what I decided to do this time is something a little bit different. As with all of these mock draft simulators, there's always some question about, well, just how good are they at this? And frankly, okay is the best answer. So what I'm going to do is to do a mock draft this time, not as the Giants, but instead as the Jets. I'm going to do a 4-round mock, as you see. I'm going to do a 4-round mock draft, and I'm going to pick for the Jets and let the simulator pick for the Giants. And let's see what they give us. Because all these times that we do these mock drafts when we're picking for the Giants, we're not really paying attention to what any other team gets, or at least very little attention to what other teams get. So we don't know how realistic that is. But every now and then I like to do one where I pick from another team's perspective and let the machine pick for the Giants, and let's see what they give the Giants. So in any event, that's where we are. I'm going to just run this 4-round mock as though I'm the Jets. Let's have at it. So obviously Mendoza went first, and now the Jets are on the clock. I'm far from an expert on the Jets, but first of all, shout out to PFF for having this technology, but also shout out to PFF for having this. This is the Jets lineup at the end of last season. Some of these players are now free agents, so they won't necessarily be back, but whatever, this is who they have. And as you can see, they have some holes. Obviously, they traded Quentin Williams, their best interior defensive lineman, and Sauce Gardner, their best cornerback. So they certainly have holes to fill there, right? This is a cornerback that they probably would like to do better than, right? Jarvis Brownlee, I'm sure they like to upgrade from him. Their interior, Harrison Phillips is a solid but not young. He's 30 years old. Interior defensive lineman who, they didn't get as much out of as they had hoped, and especially after Quentin Williams was gone. If I remember correctly, he got hurt and missed some games anyway, but certainly there was more pressure on him without Quentin Williams next to him to, absorb the double teams, etc. So that front could probably use some help. They drafted Will McDonald in the first round a couple years ago, and they probably are happy with what he's capable of. But as you can see, he's not been a particularly good run stuffer, and has been a solid pass rusher, but not an outstanding pass rusher. Same with Jermaine Johnson, who they also picked in the first round. Yeah, those two edge rushers are not the problem, but they're also not the answer, right? Like they're not game changers, or at least they haven't been so far. Not consistently, anyway. On offense, they're pretty thin. I mean, they've got Garrett Wilson, which is obviously a really good wide receiver. They've got two really good tackles. In theory, their interior offensive line isn't bad, although Elijah Vera Tucker can't seem to stay on the field for more than 15 or 20 minutes. So I'm sure they're, concerned about that. And the other receiver spot, Josh Reynolds, is not someone who, even in his youth, was going to terrify opposing defenses, but now he's 31 already. So I'm sure they wouldn't mind having another wide receiver weapon. Obviously, they'd love to have another quarterback. Like that's the big elephant in the room. But because they have the second pick, not the first pick, and there seems to be only one like sure thing quarterback first round, early, top 5 pick first round quarterback in this year's draft, they're not going to get him because the team with the first pick needs him. Okay, so that's a little bit of a look at who they are. I think wide receiver is probably high on their list. I think interior defensive line is high on their list. I think cornerback is high on their list. Their back end isn't great either. This their pairs of safeties, Andre Cisco is, a fellow Syracuse alum. That's where I went, but not someone who I think that they wouldn't draft over. And certainly Tony Adams is not someone who they wouldn't draft over. Like that's their safety tandem right now. And like I said, Quincy Williams is a free agent. This grade is probably not fair. He's a better linebacker than that, but he may not be back anyway. So in any event, they've got a lot of holes. So let's start this draft. I think that there's so many holes that they should just take the best player. Um, and the needs are kind of matching that, like Ruben Bain, Arvell Reese, David Bailey. Those are very good players. Caleb Downs, very good player. But Carnell Tate is also a very good player and at a position of need. And whoever their quarterback's going to be, and rumor has it that Kirk Cousins is going to get released by the Falcons fairly soon. So the Jets may be trying to swoop in on him. But I think they would do well to take a wide receiver. So I'm going to use the Mazo approach and go get a weapon. Now, let's take a look at what happened. The draft gave us Arvell Reese. Okay, so the top five was Mendoza, and then I picked Tate. Ruben Bain and Jeremiah Love went 3 and 4, and the simulator gave the Giants Arvell Reese. I can't say that that's a bad thing. I have a feeling that if we're taking Arvell Reese, that we're trading Kayvon Thibodeau. He's going to make like $15 million this year, and I don't think we need four edge rushers. And Arvell Reese is primarily an edge rusher, although he does also play off-ball linebacker. But his biggest impact pretty much has been at edge. So I honestly don't think that's what we will do, but that's what the simulator did. You see Sonny Styles went right after him, and I think I would rather have had Sonny Styles than Arvell Reese, but that's just me. All right, so I'm on the clock again, and I'm going to pick Mansour Delane. I think the Jets, like I said, traded Sauce Gardner. They need a cornerback. Mansour Delane, I think, is the best cornerback in this draft, so that's a no-brainer for me. Okay, and now I'm taking Ty Simpson. I'm sure the Jets would be thrilled if Ty Simpson lasted till their second round pick. In fact, I think in real life they'll probably trade up to 32 to try to get him in the first round so they get that fifth-year option. But in any event, he was still there. That's who they picked. So let's see who the simulator gave us. Okay, I've done a couple of these before I came on the air, and it keeps giving us this guy, R. Mason Thomas, the edge rusher from Oklahoma. First of all, I just don't think he's that great a prospect. I mean, I don't know that much about him, but the little bit I know about him, he looks like a solid but not great edge rusher, but a below average against the run. Kind of like Will McDonald is for the Jets. Why do we need that? And especially why do we need that if we just took Arvell Reese? It makes no sense to me that we would take Arvell Reese when we already have Brian Burns and Abdul Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau. It makes no sense that we take Arvell Reese and then follow that up with another edge rusher with R. Mason Thomas. So this makes me wonder if these mock drafts make any sense because this simulator doesn't seem to be making much sense. But it is what it is. That's who it took. Moving on. Like I said, the Jets need a lot of things. Their secondary is not particularly good. So I think I'm going to go with Colton Hood. I think he is a good cornerback prospect as well. So I know that I just took Mansour Delane, but I think with these two, they can upgrade at both of their cornerback positions. And I think they would do that. And let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Stop the draft. I shouldn't have done that because the Giants don't pick again in there. So the next pick, oh, there's a lot of guys here that I guess, oh, here, this is where I want. So Brian Parker the second is he played tackle at Duke, but he's pretty much likely to play guard in the NFL, and I think that's someone who the Jets would look at. I think that's someone who we would look at. So that's who I'm giving to the Jets. And let's see what the simulator gave us. It gave us Dejon Stribling, a wide receiver from Mississippi, which frankly is someone I've never heard of. I don't know anything about Dejon Stribling, so I can't comment on him. I'll just say that I would think I would have heard of him by now if he was that good, but it is the fourth round, so maybe let's click on him and let's see what they say about him. They say that he is 6'2", 210, which is not small. So he's a big body receiver. They say that he was his overall grade this year was 79.2. He played 405 snaps. His receiving grade. Oh, okay. So he seems to be a big-bodied, decent receiver. Doesn't seem to be somebody I'd write home about. Doesn't seem to be somebody who I think the Giants should take, but that's who the simulator gave us. Fine. And I think that was it for the Jets. I don't think they have any more picks. So I wound up giving the Jets Carnell Tate, Mansour Delane, Ty Simpson, Colton Hood, and Brian Parker II. And you saw who the Giants got, right? The Giants got Arvell Reese. And this only shows you the first round. But remember, they gave us that R. Mason Thomas guy as well, and then a wide receiver that I never heard of. So that's what the simulator did. Just to give us, again, some frame of reference, some context for what these simulators do. So when we come up with a draft that we love, there's a fairly good chance that a lot of those other teams, fans are saying, they gave us that guy. Why would they do that? So I'm not going to go crazy over what the simulators give us because it's not giving anybody, really what they seem to really need or want or would do. Still a lot of fun though, and I still do mock drafts every day. So there it is. That's what I got. That's what I think about them. I'd love to hear what you think about it. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about the mock draft I just did and the approach to the mock draft where I picked from another team's perspective and let the simulator pick for the Giants. So again, Clay from Brooklyn, Football with the Fellas. It is all about Big Blue, and I'm out.
Big shout out to L Marquee Productions, the talent behind the music and production here at Football with the Fellas. It's all about Big Blue. Their beats bring energy and excitement to every episode. L Marquee's skills in mixing, mastering, and creating top quality sound make the podcast come alive each week. For your own projects, check out lmarqueeproductions.com and take your sound to the next level.